in collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up this week, Overseas Cypriots gather in Cyprus for their annual conference.
This is an opportunity not just of a solution to the Cyprus problem, but also of correcting certain problems that created this situation.
The Kypria Festival kicks off.
It's a festival that is focused on the performing arts, so that includes opera, ballet, modern dance, theatre, music, and even productions which are using a mixture of all these performing arts.
And the UN has been busy clearing mines in the buffer zone in Cyprus.
They had to be mine cleared, those areas, and we had to also establish to make sure that there are no mines in some areas. So we will work on both, but definitely we will clear the area of Lefka.
At this time of year, every year, Cypriots from the diaspora gather on the island for their World Conference of Overseas Cypriots. This year it was the 18th such, and a man who's been president of the Congress for 18 years until a couple of years ago is Haris Sophocleidis. The President of Cyprus honoured him at this year's conference. Haris, what actually did you get for all the service you've given over those many, many years?
I think in English the translation is outstanding services to the Republic. It's an honor which I very much appreciated in having been offered, and I accepted with great pleasure, because it is a recognition for the overseas people who have worked for the Cyprus issue for 40-odd years. You know, we don't always get a very good reception when we come to Cyprus, and some parts of the press, usually the same newspapers, always accuse us of having come to Cyprus, enjoyed ourselves at the expense of the Cypriot taxpayer, and going back. Well, for a few years now, the only expense that the taxpayer pays is in fact the conference centre and the foreign ministry in organising it. They don't pay for any entertainment, they never have. They don't pay for even the meals are sponsored by a couple of banks, and no hotels are paid for delegates, but nobody knows this. They all think we come here on an all-in holiday.
But why do you come here? I mean, okay, it's nice for people who are living in Australia, America, South Africa, UK, of course, wherever there are big concentrations of Cypriots who've made their lives abroad. Great for them to come back and connect again with their roots and probably their extended families. But it's more than that, isn't it? Because the conference itself deals with issues that are of concern to those overseas Cypriots.
And also in briefing these overseas Cypriots, whom we, or even, if you like, the Cypriot authorities, government, let's start from there, have all governments have seen every Cypriot as a potential ambassador of Cyprus abroad. So by coming here and getting briefed on the latest situation, whether it be the political situation, the hydrocarbon situation, the economic situation today, and all of this, it's good to have people briefed well, so that when they go back to their own territories, they can open their mouth and speak in the spirit which you, as Rosie, know very well. We've been repeating it for years, that overseas Cypriots have an obligation to support the line held by the democratically elected government of Cyprus.
And that line, of course, changes, so it must be quite difficult for some of the overseas Cypriots to, particularly if they personally disagree with certain things.
Indeed.
How do you handle that? I mean, you spent years abroad.
Yes, we do have party influences in the UK, but not much else. Most other places, I think they haven't got enough to form a particularly strong party line, or they're too far away to be influenced by daily, even in these days of communications, to have daily contact and guidance from headquarters, so to speak. So in the UK, although we have very strong party representations, we have worked satisfactorily over the last, 20, 30 years at least. I remember at the beginning, say if we go back 30 years, we used to go lobbying in the House of Commons, and whoever was from Famagusta would say, if they give us Famagusta back, we will agree, to solve the problem. Or if you came from Morphu, of course, it was, we want Morphu back. And we never sang from the same song sheet. We explained the reasons why we should move away from that text into something which was more realistic, in that it is the government of Cyprus and the people of Cyprus that decide on the future of Cyprus. So if we want a solution at all, we should back them rather than each one of us have a different opinion. Because quite rightly, members of parliament and higher up in foreign governments, like foreign secretaries, used to say to us, well, what the hell do you want? I mean, tell us what you want and we'll try. But if we speak to 10 of you, we get 12 different opinions. So it was understood, the parties agreed, the individuals agreed, and we have been having that kind of attitude adhered to all this time.
Can I ask you about this year's conference? Because the President addressed it earlier last week, and he actually was talking about the window of opportunity that exists now. And there does seem to be a sea change in people's attitudes to the prospects of a Cyprus settlement. What did the overseas Cypriots who were at the conference make of that? Because it's totally different now, I'm sure, from what they heard last year or the year before.
Absolutely.
And very different from the last, let's face it, 20 or 30 years.
Absolutely, yes. We are almost making a hero of Mr. Akinci. I understand, I've never met him personally, I understand he is a Cypriot who wants whatever is good for Cyprus. But of course, we mustn't lose sight of the fact that Turkey is still Turkey. And Mr. Erdogan is having so many problems at the moment, so we will see how that affects it in the end. But at least it's nice to be talking to somebody who also wants a united Cyprus, albeit, with some different understanding of various bits and pieces. And I think that there is a justification for the optimism that comes out of seeing smiling faces, seeing the President and Mr. Akinci getting on fairly well together. But the President does not, from what I have understood, having been to all the briefings, is not overconfident that there is no problem. Because there are problems, and there are problems that we must also understand that affect us in certain respects, that also affect the Turks. In other words, never mind our property over in the occupied area. What about Turkish property in the Greek, in the free areas?
Isn't this the essence of the problem as it's always been, and that's the seeming inability to see the other side's rights or point of view? Yes, I think so. But we never, I think, in the past managed to get through the threshold of discussing these things meaningfully. And do you think we have now?
I think we have now. It's clearly stated by everyone that has spoken to us that we haven't had a serious breakthrough on major issues. But signs have been encouraging that they are on the table to be discussed, and the number of red lines, as I understand it, is reduced. But, of course, one thing that we in Cyprus, I mean generally Cypriots, find difficult to understand is that patience and time in history is not real time. We have to, historically problems do not resolve themselves overnight. And we have to wait. I mean, if we decide today that certain properties will be returned, whichever way, you don't get the people in there out and other people in overnight. I mean, just imagine.
No, I mean, I think what you're saying basically is that even if agreements are reached, the difficult part will come with the implementation of those
Correct.
agreements, and that will take time. But it does seem to me, from all the briefings that I've been to, that the negotiators, both sides, are aware of this, and
Yes.
they also are aware that it's very important to lay the groundwork properly before an agreement is signed, so that the implementation, which will be hurtful for some, but it can go through with the minimum of upset for the maximum of people.
I think also the government on this issue has understood that it has to use examples that are closer to home. For example, my brother-in-law had a huge shop in Morphou. Now he has a little shop for the last 40 years in Nicosia. Now, there's no Turk involved in Nicosia. He rents this from a Cypriot. He has been in there for 40 years. Now, never mind exchange and all these kind of things. How does the owner get my brother-in-law out of that property? It's extremely difficult, and we are not talking about somebody, we are not disputing ownership or use. Now, the user has rights, and the user in this case is my brother-in-law, who pays something like 80 or 90 euros a month for a property which, if properly developed, he would be paying thousands for.
All right, we know that there are going to be problems.
So, but those problems are not because there is a Turkish-Greek issue. They've got to be legal provisions and a legal method of resolving them.
Right, but one other thing that the President did say, because a lot of people are shouting about this is the end of the Republic of Cyprus, and it does seem to me, and I'm wondering how the Overseas Cypriots felt, it's not so much the end of the Republic of Cyprus, it's the birth of a new Republic of Cyprus, in a sense, and that seemed to me what the President was trying to say when he said that it would be the transformation of the country.
I think that the President explained himself, and the Foreign Minister clarified it even more with a joke about what do we expect. This is an opportunity, not just of a solution to the Cyprus problem, but also of correcting certain problems that created this situation. For example...
Well, the 1960 Constitution was a disaster.
Exactly. So why not change the Constitution? Now, if this will entail a change of Constitution, then this is an opportunity for a new Cyprus. But as Yanagis Kassoulidis said at his briefing, answering a question by one of the delegates, he said, look, how often do you say, on Friday I'm going for a long weekend to the Hellenic Republic, or I have an account in the Duchy of Luxembourg? You say Luxembourg and you say Greece, and you will say Cyprus. So let's not get confused about whether we're going to call it the new Republic or Cyprus. You don't, these are semantics. Let us concentrate on the issue rather than, and the benefits of a solution rather than the details.
And did the overseas delegates
I
take
think
that on
we
board?
we accepted that, yes. Yes. I think it's the changes that will make a difference, not the name of the baby.
And that is Haris Sophocleidis, for many years the president of the World Conference of Overseas Cypriots.
This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
And a couple of things happening over this coming weekend. Well, the Limassol Wine Festival is ongoing, and as usual, the Cyprus Tourism Organisation offers free transport to Limassol from Nicosia, Larnaca, Paphos and Ioannapa. That's for the 2 weekends of the festival, which will end on Sunday. And down in Paphos and the Limassol area, it's the Open Studios weekend. Artists and crafters are opening their studios and workspaces to the public. It'll be from 11 in the morning till 5 p.m. on Saturday the 5th and Sunday the 6th of September. You can find out more at www.en-route-cyprus.com.
You can subscribe to the Cyprus News Digest on iTunes for free and get the program downloaded to your phone or tablet so you can listen anytime, anywhere.
UNFICYP has been busy in the past few months clearing landmines from an area where they washed down near Mammari village just outside Nicosia. And the Force Commander, Major General Kristin Lund, joins us to explain what still needs to be done to demine the rest of Cyprus. Kristin, it is a long ongoing thing, and I know it's been happening for years. For a while it stopped. Now, how do you know when mines have washed down with winter rains?
Well, first of all, there's been an enormous work going on the island, and I think they had emphasized on from 2001 to 2011, where 27,000 mines were kind of recovered and destroyed. But you know, the ground is living in a way. So when we had some of the winter storms in the area of Mammari, we had the wash down, and it was actually people and farmers that call us and tell us. There's always people that see this and inform us.
So you've located and I think you've destroyed those that had washed down, but of course the same could happen if we have heavy rains this year.
Yes, well, luckily we've had very good cooperation with both sides on the mine issue, and there is a willing to really look into the mine issue now. And we know with the good support that that minefield in the north will be cleared.
They will clear it?
Yes.
How many mines are still left, potentially killing machines in Cyprus? And they're not just maybe in the buffer zone.
Mines is a humanitarian issue as we look at it, so that's why we like to keep on the momentum. But you know, I don't have the exact number, but there are thousands.
Now, I think that President Anastassiades has disclosed the site of some minefields to the UN. And what cooperation, if you're aware, is going on while the negotiations are going on to try and make these areas safe, especially if they're going to open new crossing points?
We are very happy that the Cambodians that have been dealing with and cleared the Mammari, and actually Mammari is cleared. Today we have the certificate and so forth, so they have done a fantastic job in this heat here now for 3 months, and we are very happy that also the Security Council and the Kingdom of Cambodia has agreed to keep the Cambodians here to support with the crossing the support where we are supervising the crossing points that are agreed by the leaders.
So you will be sort of sweeping those in a sense before they're opened?
Oh yes, they have to be mine cleared, those areas, and we had to also establish to make sure that there are no mines in some areas. So we will work on both, but definitely we will clear the area of Lefka when all the proper arrangements are made with also the north.
And do you have any long-term view about when Cyprus as a whole could be declared mine-free?
For us, as I said, it's a humanitarian issue, and when you look to this fantastic island, it's a shame that we have mines still on the island, and I know that there are willingness from both sides to continue this momentum when it comes to the mines.
Is it something that, if you know, is being discussed at the negotiations?
Well, as a military person, I try to keep to what I can talk about, and you should ask them. But I'm quite sure that all the difficult issues are on the table that has the special representative or the special advisor to the Secretary General, Mr. Ida, already told us. So I'm quite sure, and I know that there is a very good willingness on both sides to work on the mine issue.
Can I just ask you finally, Kristin, World Peace Day, of course, being celebrated this month. What does that mean for you as Force Commander of UNFICYP and for your UN troops here in Cyprus?
Well, we are one of the tools, and we are putting ourselves in the hands of UN and in a way and the politicians to try to support and do the best we can so the leaders can have a successful dialogue and find a solution.
That's the Force Commander of UNFICYP, the United Nations force in Cyprus, Major General Kristin Lund.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
As we return from our summer holidays here in Cyprus, a cultural extravaganza awaits every September and October. The Kypria International Festival has been running since 1993. And we're going to talk on the programme this week to the artistic director, Andy Bargili. Andy, it's something that's become very much part of the social scene, not just in Nicosia. Initially it was much smaller than it is now, but it is also a chance for people across the island to enjoy music, dance. What have you got? It's a bit of everything, isn't it?
It's a bit of everything, yes. It's a festival that is focused on the performing arts, so that includes opera, ballet, modern dance, theatre, music, and even productions which are using a mixture of all these performing arts. Yes, it's covering almost the entire island, and having in mind that the distances in Cyprus are not really so big, and it's not any problem for somebody to travel for half an hour or 40 minutes to see a wonderful production that will pay for it only 10 or 5 euros accordingly. And at the same time, you have to have in mind that for the same production in London or in Prague, you should pay maybe 50 or 60 or 80 pounds accordingly. So it's a big opportunity for the Cypriot audience to watch high quality productions of performing arts that would be very difficult to watch otherwise.
How do you select what mix you will have? I presume you've got some feedback from previous years, because this has now been going on, as we said, since 1993. Mm-hmm. Do audiences in Cyprus have a preference for opera or theatre or maybe more world-type music events or dance?
Well, I think that the preference, it's almost equally to all disciplines of the performing arts, but the reaction of the audience to the program depends very much on what is the event. For instance, they have a preference for the classic ballet, but they don't know so much about modern dance. This year we didn't include any ballet, we have only modern contemporary dance. And this is a bit risky, but on the other hand, we are trying to include the highest quality of performances in the program. And also it depends on who is acting or who is singing or who is playing music, because some names, they are so well known that they attract the audience.
Do you have a problem now with the financing of this, though? Because in the past, I know that it had a much bigger budget, and
Yes,
of course
and
everything's been stripped slightly with the economic crisis.
Yes.
How have you managed to still attract artists that people really want to see?
Well, the truth is that we have less than the half of the budget we had 4 years ago. But despite that fact, we are trying very hard to select the best proposals of the highest possible quality and to manage to make deals within the budget. And that is what it happened this year. We have some quite expensive productions, and at the same time some very interesting, very good in quality and artistic merit productions that have a very minimum cost. So this combination gives us the possibility of having a balanced quality program. Some of them they're expensive, some they're less expensive.
So where are these performances going to be taking place? Is it a chance for some of them to be performing both perhaps in either Limassol or Paphos and in Nicosia?
All of the performances, they will be presented in Limassol and in Nicosia, and some of them they will be performed in Paphos and some in Larnaca. Having in mind the distances we mentioned before, I don't think it's a big problem for somebody who would like to see something to go from Paphos to Limassol or from Larnaca to Nicosia.
Is it difficult when you have to move productions from one location to another? I mean, obviously if it's a theatre performance or an opera, then you've got sets and all the rest of it. When you ask for proposals, do you take things like how big the set is into consideration?
Well, this should be something that the producer should take into consideration, so he or she should make such a schedule that will have enough time to set up the sets and the lighting and everything that is important for the good look and the good result of a production. And we are willing always to give them an extra day in the theatre to have time and make all necessary preparations and even rehearsals, so the performance will be of the highest possible quality.
So tell us about some of the highlights of this year's Kypria Festival.
Well,
I know it's very difficult to pick out 2 or 3, but...
Yes, but let's start from the very renowned orchestra of Academy of St. Martin in the Fields, which is one of our highlights. Then is Stavros Xarchakos with his band and his wonderful compositions that marks 40 years, more than 40, 50 years of quality Greek songs. And of course we have the Decadence from Israel, it's the Batsheva Dance Ensemble, and we have the Broken from UK again. It's a wonderful production of acrobatic dance and multimedia projections. And of course we have a co-production of Thok and the Cyprus Symphony Orchestra, which is it's a theatre musical production with some characteristics of opera, but it's not an opera. It's based on Felix Mendelssohn's music for the Midsummer Night's Dream, which is based on, of course, the well-known Shakespearean comedy. And we have some other musical events that are open to the public, and they will be performed in the University in Nicosia, at Finikoudes in Larnaca, in Platia Iron, in Limassol.
So you're actually taking some of these events out of the theatres?
Without, I mean, it's free for the people to attend, and we are trying this way to approach the people that maybe they will not decide to come to a theatre and attend something. So we are just trying to have a better and closer relation to the society this way.
Right, where can people find out more? Because in the past I think you've had a sort of season ticket. Do you still do that?
No, this does not exist, but anybody who would like to have more information, he can visit our website. It's www.kypria.org.cy, and through this website can also buy tickets, find all necessary details about each production. And if anybody has any further questions, then we have an information center. The telephone is 702212, and they can get extra information.
So it started on Wednesday and it runs all the way through to the 9th of October. And that's the Kypria Festival 2015. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.